My story is definitely inspired by the charity that we have here tonight. I grew up a very special way. It's called poor. I I don't want to make this story too sad, but my mom had a long fight to get out of a very dangerous marriage, and through the charitable acts that are available, we found ourselves in an apartment, and she found herself a job, and she found herself enough money to make things go by. But we wouldn't have been fed without the donations and the food boxes we got from our local church. My mom is not what you'd call an intellectual person. She's a very emotionally driven person. She's the type of person that when she watches any sequel to any Disney movie, like Cinderella's great, but Cinderella 3 is still just as great. Like, she has no qualms. She wants the part where, like, the bad guy, like, slips and falls, and she's like, got him. And she's like, got him the 40th time she's watched the movie. It has no difference. She's all emotion and all love. I remember the night that we ran away, for lack of a better word, and we slept overnight in a church, and we went to what would be known as a women's abuse shelter, where domestic victims get to stay for safely until they can be rehabilitated. The only problem is my mom is an immigrant who did not speak very good English, and we were in rural Washington State, and it's not like Florida, where there's a huge Hispanic community and you can kind of get by with not knowing English. Like, here, it's a lot easier to be Hispanic. Like here, when I go, I can get food in Spanish, like pollo chapacal. You can go ahead and get like a bed in Spanish, like La Quinta Inn, like. My gym is Spanish here, La Fitness. Like, everything is super Hispanic here. It's not like that in rural Washington. My mom was an amazing feat in this small town where she was the only person that could speak Spanish. She was the only person, from what I knew, that knew what guacamole was, because this is before Chipotle. It was a very dangerous and hard place for her to learn how to speak English. From what I gather, she learned English from Shirley Temple movies and The King and I and these old-timey musicals that we had. But I remember that all your life is a series of promises you make yourself. You wake up from the snooze button to putting on your clothes. You're promising that you're going to get something done. I remember every single meeting at the domestic abuse shelter, they would have a little powwow at the end that all the kids were not allowed to go to, and they would just say what they needed. And my mom would ask me, Chris, what do you need? And I said, I want toys. I want something fun. I want a Game Boy. And she'd come back with socks, or she'd come back with food. And I didn't appreciate what I was getting. And I didn't understand that these were things that I couldn't get. And I remember I asked her for something that as it was happening, Burger King had Pokemon toys in their Happy Meals. And I was so excited because I loved Pokemon. And I really, really wanted to get something special, something that I could show the kids at school that made me an equal, something that barred me from rather being the kid that wore the same shirt every day. She asked for $5, and she got it. And I remember we had to check out. We had to write our names down and say where we're going and say how far, because these types of places are meant to keep you safe. And not a lot of the women there are there on their own accord, and a lot of them are there to be protected because someone is actively looking for them. So we walked blocks to the Burger King and we got a Happy Meal. And I remember my younger brother in tow, who was just a little boy, just 2, 3 years old. She ordered one Happy Meal and we shared it. And I said, Mom, you gotta get one too. And she told me that she had already eaten. And as a kid, that was the first time I realized my mom was lying to me. But she had promised that she was gonna get me something I wanted. And I got it. When her mom died last month, I promised her that I would take care of getting her home so she could deal with the logistics of burying someone in another country. And as I booked the ticket, I realized that I had kept a promise that I would always take care of her and let her know that she didn't have to worry about me being poor and that we'd all be provided for. Thank you.